Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reacting to a video called Animals That Got the Middle Finger from Evolution. So basically we're going to see animals where they kind of got screwed over just by nature. So this is going to be interesting and kind of sad. But guys, if you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And let's get straight into the video.
Evolution is a name Emily. That's it.
Why
That's
Emily?
Don't get me wrong, the concept of evolution is pretty cool. It's the reason giraffes get to flex their high in the entire animal kingdom.
Giraffes are
There are
crazy.
just times where nature and evolution decide to team up and absolutely hoe an animal's entire existence.
That's
So
so
here are 10
crazy.
animals that I personally think got done the dirtiest.
Let's
It's
see.
not exactly in order,
I think
but
Dodo
obviously some
Bird
animals are going to get violated more
is going to
flagrantly than
be
others.
on
And I
here.
say that because if this list were actually in order, the octopus would probably medal at the Oppression Olympics for...
Really?
Let me explain. Octopuses are
explain.
highly intelligent, and scientists believe they have the same cognitive ability as a 2-year-old human. Which might
What?
not seem impressive, but that means octopus are on the same IQ level as some dogs. They're even smart enough to use tools, whether it's using the tentacles of the venomous man-o-war as a weapon, which they actually do, or
they're
carrying
pretty
a
smart.
coconut around to keep as a travel-sized panic room.
That's cool. Oh my god. Wait,
But
both
being smart is
sides?
the only thing they have going for them. First of all, most octopus come into
Really
the
cute.
world as orphans. The mother octopus will spend months guarding and washing her nursery of up to 50,000 eggs. Since it's too dangerous to leave them
50,000?
alone, since there's no daycare underwater, she often won't eat the entire time. Which means once the clutch of eggs
What?
are finally ready to hatch, the mother is shriveling, starving, and ready to become initials on a Twitter bio. The struggle doesn't end there. In fact, that's when it starts.
That
These
sounds
babies
terrible.
the size of a grain of rice have to figure out life in an ocean full of animals that'll actually try to put an end to it.
Right off
It's
the
so bad
bat?
that out of the 50,000 children, if more than 2 survive to adulthood, it's considered overachieving. That
What?
honestly wouldn't be a big deal if
That's
nature
so
didn't already
sad.
nerf them with their lifespan. It's so ridiculously short that a majority of octopus species that live life to the fullest still won't be alive for their first birthday. Being an
What?
octopus means you can be born on New Year's, have a midlife crisis by June, only to be a memory by October.
That's
Giving an animal high
crazy.
intelligence just to cut its life after 1 to 2 years just seems like an intentional
They
dick
have it
move.
bad. How's it get worse
And
than
because they
that?
have no shell or no armor, they'd honestly be lucky to live that long.
What's
Having
worse
no
than
real way to
this?
defend themselves means a good number of
Oh,
them end up a sea lion's
what
chew
the
toy or a
heck?
dolphin's frisbee. To be fair, octopus do have camouflage. In some cases, highly toxic venom. But for the most part, they get
Now they're
bodied by
screwed.
most of the ocean.
They're
But to add
screwed.
insult to injury, every octopus you see is probably a virgin because once they get laid, they die. You already saw what happens to the mother, but where the daddy at?
Yeah, where the
Once
daddy
male
at?
octopus mates, he basically just gives up on life. A male
What?
octopus that's catched in his V-card will swim around catatonically until he either gets torn apart by predators or dies of starvation as his body falls apart due to senescence. Not like it really
This is
matters
so
because most
depressing.
female octopus are bigger than the males, and sometimes they'll attack and cannibalize him during. But
Oh
one
my
thing's for
god.
sure, if his
Just
days
like a
doesn't put him out of
mantis.
commission, his post-nut clarity will. Octopus don't live long, but for the months they're alive, their entire existence is a
6
jihad.
months?
Now you know why Squidward couldn't give up if a paid him.
No,
But
for
at least with
real.
the octopus, it just seems to be
6
really
months.
bad luck. They may be
Crazy.
a victim of circumstance, but at least you get the idea that nature didn't go out of its way to screw them. Not like with this bird. Kiwi bird
Okay.
is probably the best proof that evolution ain't perfect. This
What
tiny
happened?
bird is actually part of the rat-type family. And this
Rat?
cookout
How's
includes
that
ostriches,
rat?
Emus, cassowaries, and the rhea. But unlike its bigger cousins, this bird that shares its name with
Oh,
a
it's
fruit
not
is about
rat.
18 inches tall and no
It's just
more
a
than 7
raptor.
pounds. But unlike its rat kiwi bird, and this cookout includes ostriches,
Okay.
emus, cassowaries, and the
Yeah,
rhea.
it's like a
But unlike
raptor.
its bigger cousins, this bird that shares its name with a fruit is about 18 inches tall and no more than 7 pounds. It's kind of like
7
having cousins 6'3", 6'4", and
pounds.
6'6", yet you came out looking
It's
like
so
3 lanes. Like your
cute.
family's tall enough to fit in an NBA locker
You gotta
room, you
domesticate
get a
it.
chair and stay
How
the
is it
same
gonna
height.
live in the
But of
wild?
course, nature wasn't done screwing with this bird because, like its relatives, they can't fly. Totally flightless, and
Aw,
despite being related to
7-pound
ostriches, a Jurassic
bird.
reject, and a bird that literally won a war against Australia,
Oh my
Kiwi's about
god.
as defenseless as the fruit that got named after it. Basically, you're looking at a bird that can't bird. The kiwi
That's
is
so
such light work that they
cute.
can only survive on islands without any mammalian predators because they're really a couple stray cats away from being put
Oh
in
yeah, you gotta
prison.
run, bird.
And somehow, that's not it. Because nature
Not
shrunk everything
it.
about this bird. Everything except the eggs they have to push out of their body. Despite being about 60 times
Oh
smaller, kiwis
my
have to deal with eggs nearly the same
God.
size as ostriches. And at 20% of
What?
its body weight, that would be like the average woman birthing a 35-pound baby.
How?
It's such
How
a
would they
hell of a live that
live?
The egg actually rearranges the bird's organs and stretches its rib cage. There's too
Oh
many
my
things wrong with it for me
God,
not to
poor
think nature had serious beef
babies.
with this bird. Especially when you
Poor
realize the kiwi's
babies.
closest ancestor was the elephant bird, which was about 10 feet, 1,600 pounds. So
Wow.
yeah, they got nerfed bad.
They say 11
At least they didn't get
feet?
hit as hard as, say,
That's
the sloth.
crazy.
For being
Oh
completely
my God.
honest here, the sloth
I
has
can totally
almost
see
nothing
this.
going for it. Because they insisted on eating nothing but leaves,
I could
their
totally
diet
see
makes them
this.
one of the slowest animals on the planet. Because they physically can't afford to spend energy they don't have, because going into debt would mean death. It's to the point where baby sloths have to quite literally
Poor
hold on for dear
babies.
life, because if it falls to the jungle floor, the mother likely won't waste the energy trying to get it back.
Wow.
And that's because if you're a sloth, leaving this tree is the most dangerous thing you'll ever
How do
do.
they live?
Sloths only poop about once a week, and when they do, they'll climb out of the tree and get on the ground to do it. Why they don't just drop a deuce from the trees, I couldn't tell you. Nobody knows.
That's
What
so
goes on in their
crazy.
heads. But this means about half of all
They're so
sloth
freaky
deaths involve
looking,
getting
though.
clapped on the toilet like Elvis. One thing sloths have going for them is that they're so mind-numbingly slow that algae actually grows on them, giving them free camouflage.
Wow.
There's a catch. There is always a catch.
What?
When one of your biggest ops is an eagle with quite literally some of the best eyes in the world, wearing a moss blanket isn't going to amount to too much.
Oh my
And you know
god.
evolution was actively working with them, because sloths are actually really good swimmers and can hold their breath for 40 minutes longer
Sloths
than
are so
dolphins
weird.
and seals.
Do y'all
But
think
it
they're
means almost
creepy
nothing,
or
and
they're
most of the time they go
cute?
swimming is by accident when they fall out of a tree.
Let me
And
know in the
that weak-ass
comments.
doggy paddle might save them from drowning,
Oh,
but
they're
it
so
won't save
dead.
them from getting murked by an anaconda or
That
a black
a
cat.
gator?
The really sad part is,
Cooked.
sloths could actually be way better than this. Its close relatives, the armadillo and anteater, are able to put the same claws that it has to good use, and anteaters have even been known to swing on jaguars. You have a homicidal vacuum cleaner that has put jaguars and people in coffins. And then you have
Anteaters
a
are so
moth with a
interesting.
face. Just like the kiwi, the sloth used to be better than this. Megatherium, aka the giant ground sloth, was in the same weight class as elephants, and they actually knew how to use those claws. So
Dang,
much so that if
that
Isis were
sucks.
realistic, Sid would have worn Diego's ass like a fur coat. But its massive size ended up screwing it in the end, as they basically got hunted into oblivion by humans. Leaving us now
that's so
with the virtually defenseless,
sad.
dead-eyed, slower than molasses algae
That's so
apartment that we
sad.
call the sloth. You know that thing on TV where it's like someone gets a genie that grants wishes, but only does so in a way that horribly bends them over in the end, and the moral's supposed to be careful what you
Yes.
wish for? That basically sums up this next animal, because it looks like it got finessed by a genie in one of the most
Oh my God,
disrespectful
what?
ways possible. This is a fiddler crab.
Oh my
Male
God,
fiddlers
I
have
can
one
see
giant
it.
brolic claw whose only purpose
I
is to
can
get
see
its female's
it.
attention. Bee crabs choose their mate based on who has
Charger.
the biggest claw and therefore can pass
Charger
the
from
genes
Left 4
to a
Dead.
clutch of eggs. The problem is, that is literally the only thing this claw is good for. Because that claw is too big to pick up food, the male fiddler crab can only feed himself with that smaller claw. That
no
massive
way.
claw is actually a disability that means the males either eat half the food or take twice as long as the females. The only
That's so
problem with that is that
weird.
these crabs only eat during low tide, and the longer the crab spends eating, the more likely they are to end up as someone else's main dish. In the
Yeah.
evolutionary arms
Oh,
race for female
wow.
Validation, the male fiddler crab is more likely to end up getting eaten by
What about the
gulls,
females,
raccoons, reptiles,
though?
and sometimes even bigger crabs. Since the females enable this by being attracted to the bigger but less functional claws, the fiddler is now trapped in a vicious cycle. By
That's
preferring males with
terrible.
a trait that quite literally gets them put on a shirt, the females indirectly screw the next generation. Gotta be careful what
Yikes.
you wish for, especially
So the
if you're
females
this
look like
next
that
animal,
too?
because the peacock has the same problem on steroids. We
so
can all agree
confused
that
about
the
that.
peacock is the biggest flexor in the animal kingdom.
Yes.
And rightfully so. And just like with the crab and
Such a big
basically
flexor.
every other aspect of life, bigger is most certainly better. The more colorful and eye-catching, the better the peacock's chances at
Peacocks
bagging
are
a
so
few head.
interesting.
They'll even shimmy their tail feathers in a way
Shimmy,
that
shimmy,
hypnotizes
shimmy,
any
shimmy,
female
shimmy,
watching.
yeah.
But like I said,
What?
never
La,
make
la,
a deal
la,
with a
la.
genie. Because the good news is a peacock showing off will always be the center
That's
of
so
attention.
crazy.
Bad news is sometimes that attention
Ooh.
comes from a 700-pound assault weapon with stripes.
Yeah.
And because those tail feathers
How's
are so heavy,
anything
not only can't the peacock see behind itself, even if it
supposed
does
to live
see
from a
past them,
tiger?
it takes them longer to get off the ground and out of
Ooh.
the tiger's reach.
Jesus.
Just like with the crab, the peacock's
Like
biggest
6
flex
feet
is often
long.
what gets it buried. In a cruel twist from fate, the peacocks that are safer from tigers are usually the ones that get less attention from females. So by having
So
a
you're
preference,
screwed.
the peahens doom their future children to a fate of ultimately ending up as a tiger's toothpick. The peacock and fiddler both got handed massive L's from nature, but at least you can see
That
the
is
thought
huge
process behind
L's.
it. Having huge claws and fancy feathers attracts females, so technically it does serve a
There has to
purpose.
be symbolism
In
there.
comparison, the Luna moth got shafted for no reason at all.
It's
To make a
pretty,
long story
though.
short,
It's
adult
pretty.
Luna moths don't have
Kinda.
a mouth and
Eh.
therefore can't eat. The only thing
Wait,
keeping them alive
what?
is the energy they store as caterpillars, but once that runs out, so does their time.
They don't
Luna
have a
moths live
mouth?
for about a week, just long enough to reproduce and doom their children to the same fate of a non-consensual
They don't have a
hunger strike.
mouth?
If you ask Google why the Luna moth doesn't have a mouth, it'll tell you because its only purpose is to mate, which is really nature not giving a fraction of a about them. Yeah,
That's
cool. Question is,
crazy.
what could possibly be crueler? Well, if you know what this is, you probably have the answer.
I don't know what that
This
is.
is a sea louse. It's a member of the
How do you know
Calyptidae family
this?
of copepods, which is basically
So
just a bunch of small
specific.
crustaceans. You probably noticed
Okay.
that for the peacocks and the crabs, it was the guys getting the worst of it. Apparently, nature believes in a weird form of equality because right now it's up for the girls. The
Okay.
horror show starts when a male sea louse kidnaps a much smaller female and then forcibly drags her into what I can only describe as a crustacean sex dungeon. Where he can have up to 20 other victims also trapped.
What the
It's at
heck?
this moment where this movie loses its rating because the male will forcibly impregnate every last female in his burrow, and this often involves penetrating her abdomen. But don't worry, it gets
Ew.
worse. As her brood of
How?
children that she never asked for begin to grow, they decide to start eating their way out. Eventually, the mother's body splits open as her
Oh
nursery of
my
psychopaths rush out of the now
God, that
mutilated
is-
husk of a corpse. This might be one of the only times where the
Terrible.
babies abort the mother. Doesn't even really get to give birth. Her children just bring her death.
That's
You might be wondering why
crazy.
evolution would even give this nonsense the green light. Well, the newborn sea louse are entering an ocean full of danger, and having a full meal before they make it out on their own apparently increases their chance of survival.
That's
And by
terrible.
cannibalizing their own mother, it's basically a home-cooked meal.
This is so
Somehow,
messed up.
This isn't even the worst birth on this list.
How?
That title belongs to the hyena because
Oh my
straight up birth
God.
is actually better than what they go through.
This is pretty
Female
bad.
hyenas evolved a pseudo-penis that's so similar to the
Yeah,
real thing,
I
it's
don't
actually
even
difficult
know
to tell males and females apart.
how this even happened.
This is actually a female. Only
Like
problem
how?
is, it's not just for show. They actually have to give birth to
Oh
that
my
thing. And
God,
yes, it's every bit as painful
what
as you
the
think. And
heck?
just to somehow make it even worse relative to the mother's size, hyenas have to give birth to the largest cubs of any carnivore, and they have to do it through a penis.
Oh my God.
Good amount of
Oh my
first-time
God.
mothers don't even survive this because the process involves rupturing
Wow.
and splitting open the pseudo to make it easier for the cub. But the cubs don't
Ugh.
get it easy either. About 60% of hyena cubs will suffocate on the way out and become past tense before technically even joining the present. And you would
Dang.
think because this directly affects the mother and the cub that evolution would have patched this. But apparently nature and Lion King have something in common when it comes to doing hyenas dirty.
That's terrible.
But
Media
if we're talking
headlines.
about an animal that got done dirty, this picture
These are
kinda speaks for
pretty
itself.
freaking
In
bad.
fact, this is probably going to be the thumbnail because this is nature at its grimiest. A lot of y'all probably knew this animal is coming just from reading the title, but for those of you that didn't, that was the skull of the Babirusa. It's a wild pig from the Indonesian islands like Sulawesi. If you
Babirusa?
already knew that, it's probably because of those teeth. Those tusks penetrate out only to do a complete 180 and head right back towards its face.
What?
If the male Babirusa can't wear down this hellish overbite or he doesn't lose them in a fight, then the teeth will end up growing right back into his head, penetrating
Oh,
the skull
heck
and ultimately
no.
piercing the brain. But the worst part of it all is that by the time it gets clapped by its own dental plan, the Babirusa's probably already had children and therefore passed on its bullshit to its kids. It's a lot like
Crazy.
Parkinson's. Okay, hear me out. The problem with Parkinson's is that it usually develops late in life, usually around the age of 60. And patients can have it for years without being diagnosed. So by the time they do find out, it's possible they could have already had kids and grandkids that they could have passed it off to. See the
Dang.
problem, right? The only good thing is that it's somewhat rare for a child to inherit Parkinson's from their parents. The Babirusa, not so lucky. And as long as females find big tusks attractive, and as long as the tusks only murk them
my
after
God,
they've
it's
had
so
babies, this species is gonna be
bad.
screwed eternally, and evolution can't even stop it.
I
But
feel
when you
so
talk
bad
about
for
being
them.
sodomized by the fleshy phallus of nature, you're probably talking about cheetahs. If you watch Tears,
Oh,
if you're
cheetahs.
watching this, you probably do. You probably heard him say that cheetahs are F-tier garbage that either need to be buffed or just vaulted out of their misery.
Wow.
I love cheetahs, I really do, but
They're
out
so
of every animal on
iconic.
this list, evolution might have bodied the cheetah the hardest, and for one simple reason. Cheetahs are really fast.
Yeah.
That is all they have. Cheetahs
No.
are a textbook example of why you should never dump all your evolution principle and skill, because you'll just get
No.
bent over in every other aspect of life. Because they're built for
No.
speed and absolutely nothing else, cheetahs often get bullied by other predators, especially lions and
That's
hyenas.
terrible.
And because cheetahs have to expend so much energy just to make a kill, it forces them to rest right after, which makes it really easy for other animals to just step in and run their
That's
pockets.
such a L.
But for real, if you're a cat and a bird that literally only eats the dead is able to run you off, you got a lot of problems.
Yeah, you
Worst part
do.
is, cheetahs could easily avoid all of this. Leopards are also lightweight solitary hunters that occasionally get their food
Leopards
stolen.
got
They're able to
the
carry their kills
freaking
up in trees where their kills are
jackpot.
harassed by scavengers. But in the evolutionary race for speed, cheetahs evolved non-retractable claws to use as cleats to keep traction while running. Which is why cheetahs can't climb trees, so they gotta
Dang.
get violated on the ground. Cheetahs are such pushovers that one hyena can successfully rob several cheetahs right in their face and then dare them to do something about it. Cheetahs
No.
compromised everything for speed, so now they get to speed run through life.
That
About
sucks.
70% of cheetah cubs born in the wild will be 6 feet under before their first birthday. And just to add on to
No.
that, because
They're
why
so
the hell not? Thanks to
cute.
genetic bottleneck, a majority of the cheetah population is highly inbred. What you're looking at is a cat that
What?
doesn't really know how to cat. Because instead of roaring like lions, tigers, and leopards, the best this spotted
It's
doormat can do is chirp like
inbred?
a bird. Matter of fact, if you YouTube it real quick, you'll find they make every sound that isn't a roar.
Aw, it's so cute. That's so crazy. They're so
And that's how you know
tiny.
evolution went out of its way to them. Cheetahs have been around
But they're
for about 3
inbred.
million years and decided they were just gonna IM speed their way through life.
Wow.
And because of that, unless it's a 100-meter dash or a bird call contest, this overgrown house cat loses every single
Poor
time.
cheetah.
Obviously, there's a lot of good things about the cheetah, but not nearly enough to justify the abuse they go through. Which is
True.
probably why a majority of cheetahs in captivity experience severe anxiety so bad that it prevents them from mating and they need an emotional support dog.
Aw.
Which is cute, don't get me wrong.
It is
but
cute.
it's another reason why cheetahs are dangerously close to being the pandas of cats, and that's not something anyone wants to be. And don't get it
Aw.
twisted, I don't enjoy roasting cheetahs. I actually really
I wonder
love
why
them. But if
pandas
nature has
are
favorites, this Cheetos mascot isn't one.
endangered.
And those are 10 animals that got the middle finger from evolution.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie to you, this video was low-key a pain to make. So if you like the video and you'd like to support this channel, my Patreon's gonna be in the description.
Yeah,
But
guys,
please,
go support them.
please,
W video.
don't give money if you can't afford it. Because honestly,
All right, guys, let me know which one you think is worse. I think out of all of them, I don't know, the little female insect that gets put in you know what dungeon is pretty bad to me. That sounds like pretty bad. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.